Hey, real quick, listeners, before we get into this episode with Reggie, there's a new podcast out. I want you guys to check it out. If you guys are into women's soccer, and of course, you probably are if you listen to our podcast, because why not? It's soccer. It's a beautiful game. You should check out this new podcast. It's called Shea Butter FC. Yes, Shea Butter FC, like the lotion, hosted by Sylves and Sky. They're both great women doing a lot of great things in the game of soccer. Check out their podcast at Shea Butter FC. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the latest episode of Can I Kick It? This is your host, as always, Elliot Barr. And joining me in the studio today is the guy that can tell you how long does it take to get from Marta from point A to point B to point C. It's Mr. Reggie. How are you doing, my good man?
I'm good. ATL, baby.
Man, so really we want to have you on the show because not only are you, I think about you as Mr. Atlanta. Like, anyone that goes to a game in Atlanta, like, they got to meet you. They got to hang out with you. But you also have this very unique YouTube show that we're going to talk about later in the podcast and everything like that. But first question I want to ask you, man, is like, how did you get into the sport of soccer?
Man, it was my brother. My brother, man, he has been an Arsenal fan since we were in England. I think that was back in 1981. My father was stationed in England that summer, and my brother started watching Arsenal then, and he never stopped watching them. We came back to the States, and we just growing up, and I forgot about it. My brother never stopped, even when all you could do was buy a magazine to follow the sport. He was still following the sport. So he came to me, believe it or not, in 2015, and I was like, okay, look, all right, ain't nobody getting knocked out in the first round, ain't nobody getting dunked on, ain't nobody getting run over the 1 yard line. I'm still not feeling it. He said, look, I know you love the underdog. Do this for me. Do me a favor. Follow a team. I'm gonna give you some teams. Pick a team. Let me know what you think. So I picked Bournemouth, and so he said, "Okay, watch this video." So I watched the NBC documentary about Bournemouth and how they came from like two leagues down and got promoted and all, and I was hooked, and I became a sponge. And it was from 2015 on, man. Like that's all I did. I just ate, slept, and drank football to the point where my wife was like, "Look here, now, you got a family." And then Atlanta United started up. That didn't help. And then that's a whole nother conversation, man. But then I got involved in that, and I didn't even know what a capo was. Next thing I know, they passed me a megaphone and like, "You're one of the capos. Go." And I'm like, I don't know. I had to research so much stuff, man. But it's been beautiful. I cannot even begin to explain how much I truly appreciate this sport, and I'm just so grateful for everything that this sport has even given me. The little bit that I've gotten, I'm really grateful for it. I didn't even know outside, because America, we're in a bubble, and outside of this country, man, the world is playing this sport, and black folk are playing this sport all over the world. So I'm really, really soaking this up. I'm loving it.
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think my wife has had that same conversation with me because around like 2014 is when I started like really going hard into soccer, and she would tell me that at this point we were dating, and she was like, "Look, I love you, but we are not doing no soccer stuff at our wedding." And I was like, "Really? Like, you sure we can't just ease it on in there real quick?" Like,
Yeah, a
somehow
little
I
something,
definitely get,
something,
yeah,
something.
right. So you talk about how you're a Bournemouth fan, and I remember for those who don't know, like, you real cool with for the culture, one of the guys that we hang out with, Grego and all of them. You put up, I think it was either them or you put it up in the group chat about how you were actually like on NBC Sports talking about AFC Bournemouth. Like, how is that? Like, and first of all, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure a lot of Bournemouth fans are like, we have a black fan? Like, yeah,
Oh yeah,
how does
yeah.
happen?
They trip. I'll put it to you like this. I was following Bournemouth, still love Bournemouth, man, even if in championship, love them still, up the cherries. But the funny thing was this, man. I was posting stuff in the North American Cherries fan group. I was just active in there. and the Premier League fan zone reached out to me through NBC, and they were like, "Hey, we see you're doing a lot in the fan group. Would you like to come on Premier League fan zone?" And I stopped and did a double take, like, fan zone? You mean international? On the I mean, from the UK, y'all asking me questions, and I'm talking about Bournemouth, and I'm picking for real? And they were like, "Yeah." And so, I mean, I started doing that, and eventually, man, I was doing sometimes 1 or 2 episodes a month, especially when, like, we were going down. They wanted to talk to me all the time. But that's how I got involved with it, man. But it was a beautiful experience, man. I had a friend of mine, he was in Singapore. He was vacationing and saw me in a bar in Singapore because they were broadcasting Fan Zone. I was telling my family, it's international, but if you hear in the country you like international, yeah, okay, whatever. But then when I showed them, no, my boy was in Singapore, and they were like, "Oh my God, he's international." I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, it that blew my mind, and it got to the point where even after we went down, the club reached out to me and asked me to do a blog post for 1 month. I think it was just one post, but I just explained how I got into it, what led me into following the club. And so, I mean, if you're a Bournemouth fan, you may not have seen me necessarily on Fan Zone, but you saw me in the newsletter at least. That's fun. I love it.
So do we have like a baby Atlanta Bournemouth supporters group down there, or is it just still a group of one?
It's a group about 3 or 4. It ain't that many of us. It's not that many of us. But you know what? I love it because the tendency is to always for American sports, we always want to go with the quote unquote winner, the big teams. And if you're first getting into soccer, the football, you go for the big six in the Premier League. Most people are Manchester United. Some are Manchester City, Chelsea, et cetera, et cetera. People are like, "Why Bournemouth?" And I'm like, if you had never been following football and your first introduction to the sport is their story, how could you not follow them? I love underdogs. And I mean, I like the fact that, man, I mean, we had victories against Liverpool, we had victories against Arsenal, Manchester United. I think one of the funniest moments I had was watching Arsenal fan TV and everybody on the street just going, "Bournemouth? Bournemouth blood. We lost against Bournemouth?" And I'm just chuckling like, "Yeah, you did."
Man, that I'm not gonna lie, like that was kind of my introduction into the game. Like, got Manchester United because like my sister went over there and got a scarf, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll start following. But if I had a redo, it probably would have been a little bit different. But yeah, you're right. Like most black people, our favorite team is either the Big Six. Usually
Mhm.
how it goes. Um, so we're gonna bring in more stateside, man. You are definitely one of the leading faces when it comes to Atlanta United. First, I gotta ask you, man, like why is Atlanta like the hub for black soccer culture in America? Not only because, it is like the black capital of the United States, but why is this particular place the black soccer hub? And why did Atlanta United hook onto it so quickly?
You know what? I honestly think, man, I think you touched on it already. I think the reason why Atlanta is because it's just a reflection of the larger society. I mean, this is Wakanda. Atlanta is Wakanda. If anybody knew who Wakanda was, it was Atlanta. You had mayors, you had, black sportscasters, you had black weathermen and weatherwomen, and I mean, you had Monica Kaufman as a black anchor on TV. So, of course, you go back to the civil rights movement, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm a Morehouse man. My wife went to Spelman, so you got the HBCU connection. So
I'm a Virginia State Trojan, man.
what?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So HBCU proud.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, man, it made sense. But I will say this: the club itself did something that I did not see in any other major city. And I mean, my family, like my father's family, they're in Maryland. They're right outside of DC in Fort Washington. I never saw DC United reach out to Rare Essence or Chuck Brown when he was still alive, or anybody in the go-go scene. I didn't see them reaching out to the community in that way. But Atlanta United, man, they made it a point to reach out to us to the point where I remember I was on the east side visiting some friends over in the Stone Mountain. And as I'm getting off the exit on Panola Road and I'm making a left onto Panola, I look at the bus stop, and on the MARTA bus stop, there is a picture of this when Darlington Nagby was still playing for us. And I mean, just plain as day, like they didn't have a problem with advertising to us. They had no problem with marketing to African Americans. They included a lot of our stars, a lot of our historical figures in our pre-match ceremonies. We have something called hitting the spike. So before the game starts, they bring out a local Atlanta celebrity, whether it's Ric Flair, whether it's Evander Holyfield, whether it's Edwin Moses, or if it's I'm not Footy Mob, Goody Mob. They'll bring them out and they hit the spike. But they include them so much in the culture to the point where it pretty much normalized it. I mean, people saw it in every part of our culture. One of the things that I noticed internationally was that football is just a part of the culture. You don't have to have these kind of discussions mainly because it's like basketball for them. Everybody plays it, and if you're not good with your crossover, you can't go behind the back or you can't dunk, you still can dribble the ball. And that's pretty much how it is there. But in Atlanta, man, I think Atlanta United, their marketing team, they never shied from us. They never went the other way. And I think by them doing that, it made people like me comfortable with attending games. And then it's a it's an avalanche almost. It's like they see you or they see me and they go, I guess it's cool because, they went and so they come and then it just kind of builds on itself.
Yeah, most definitely. I think one of the things that caught my attention the most when I went to Atlanta was I got off the Marta. Y'all had like pitches right there, like soccer pitches. I'm like, what is this? You know,
Yeah, man. I mean, soccer in the streets, that's another thing. Soccer in the streets has been around forever. I didn't know that because I wasn't into the culture at that time. But soccer in the streets has been coaching kids because you and I both know how pay to play is. And a lot of us do not have access to the sport. So here comes soccer in the streets, and they're building mini pitches all over in it. And if you look at our line, it started at 5 points, and then it's just starting to go up the line. We have one at West End. I think we have another one over there at Piedmont, and then we have another one. I guess the point I'm making is that if you can kind of look at it, it makes it easy for kids to just get on the train, get off at the next stop, play, play against a couple of kids from that area, get on the train, go to the next stop. It's to the point where you can see in maybe less than 5 years where you got kids, groups of 5 or 10. And when you play basketball, it's like this is our court, who got next. You can go to the 5 Point Smarter station and play who's ever there and then get on the train and go. I mean, it's just they're normalizing it. They're making it more like the rest of the world where you don't have to have money to play. You don't It's really just about getting out there and kicking the ball around. And so by doing that, you know, then you got my kids, you got people's grandkids, you got everybody wanting to play because it's not a big deal.
yeah, most definitely. And I think that access and that level of access is really going to benefit Atlanta soccer culture. And hopefully, like other cities, hopefully Richmond is the next one where these soccer pitches are not just out in the county and well affluent areas. They kind of put them in the local community, the urban community, things like that, make the game more accessible to people. So I'm gonna ask you a question. I really want to see your reaction to it. Also, um, does a small part of you miss being in Bobby Dodd Stadium, or are you guys like, no, we're good in the bins?
Man, look, I'm an outlier. I'm gonna tell you this much. When we were in Bobby Dodd, you could not recreate that experience of 55,000 people screaming, the chants, the echoes, just being, it was like it was our own stadium. So for the experience of that time, I mean, loved it, but I don't miss that at all. Look, this is Atlanta. So you can imagine late summer, August, July. June, there's no shade. Unlike other stadiums all over the world, you have the overhang, right? I don't care if you're at the Emirates, I don't care if you're at Tottenham, I don't care. Even Bournemouth, there's an overhang, so you get some some protection from the elements. We were out there baking like a microwave, so it was hot. We had a really bad rainstorm at one time that, once lightning strikes, you got to wait at least another 10 minutes before you can even go back out. So everyone was getting rained on. We had to find shelter and then on top of that, you think about our final when we won the title in 2018. We were in the bins, and that was a horrible rainstorm. It was cold and rainy and wet, and that was like December. December here, if that had been at Bobby Dodd, that'd have been we'd have all been just soaking wet. I don't even know if they'd have been able to play the game. So I love the bins. That's our Terradome. Don't come in here unless you want to catch it. I mean, so I love that. Bobby Dodd was great for the atmosphere, but it's time to graduate.
Yeah, nah, like I think my wife, that was the first MLS game she ever watched. It was like Atlanta United versus Orlando, and she was like, "Why is this so loud?" And then the thing that caught her off guard, she was like, "Why are there so many black people?" I was like, "Baby, it's the Mecca. It's the Mecca. It's the Mecca. It's one of the places like where every black soccer fan says like they want to go to, like regardless of who we support. Me, for instance, like I'm a Richmond Kickers fan. I'm USL League One all day, but I want to experience like a true Atlanta United game. The closest one I ever got to was when y'all was playing in CCL. Y'all was playing in Kennesaw.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all were playing in Mercedes Benz, and I was like, "Yo, I want to experience so badly and being part of that atmosphere."
You're not ready, man. Listen, Aaron West came down, and Aaron, he's always laid back, cool. He's been all over the world, right? So Aaron he's been to the Etihad. He's been to, I mean, just name any stadium. He's been to Barcelona. He's been to Real Madrid. He's been to Liverpool. So he's been all over. He's been to all these stadiums. And so the night before they were going to film the documentary, we were at a party with Copa 90, and he was talking to me, and I said, "Look, I mean, you're not ready." He said, "Oh, okay." I said, "No, trust me. You've never been to an Atlanta United game. You've never been to one of our tailgates. You're not ready." So fast forward, man, and now we're at the tailgate. One of our DJs, he's spinning something from the '90s, so he's doing the best of the '90s ATL hip hop. He's going off. Everybody's dancing and whatnot. Somebody bumps into me. I turn around. Like, who is this? And it's Aaron talking about, I've never experienced anything. I said, I told you. I told you. That's before the game. That's before the game. That's just the tailgate. Then we do the march. Then from the march, we're in the stadium. And then he sees 70 plus thousand people standing for 90 minutes, loud, enjoying themselves. A whole lot of black people. He's like, I've never experienced this. It reminds me, did you see on Twitter? Not, I just forgot the player's name now, for Toronto. And he posted on Twitter, he said, one of the best experiences I've ever had is, and this is when they were talking about the Black Players for Change, and they were all auctioning off their different kits. And he was saying that he said, my kid is from when we played Atlanta in the playoffs. And Atlanta's a tough place to play. It's always a tough place to play. However, I loved playing there because he said, I've never played in front of that many black people before in my life. This is a professional player from the opposition. He's playing for Toronto, and he said that, and that just tells you, and that was what, 2018, and it's still growing.
Yeah, man. I think it was just tomorrow who said it. Like,
That's it. That's
yeah, man. Also, I forgot you guys did have the Copa 90 video. When that's something else. Like that, I will stand on my soapbox real quick. I really wish we could get Copa 90 USA back. I hate the fact that they just kind of just died
Yeah.
out because it was such a great platform. And it would have been so great to still have that here, but that's a different story for a different day. But can you tell us about like how is like Atlanta tailgate culture? Because I feel like the tailgate culture is like so unique.
It's unique based on a lot of the on the supporter groups too. So for Atlanta United, we have four recognized or formally recognized by the club supporter group. So you have Terminus, you have Resurgence, you have the Faction, and then you have Footy Mob, us. And then you have La Doce, and then you also have All Stripes. And then there's also even smaller SGs within all of that. So if you go to a tailgate before a game, you're going to see the different aspects of Atlanta culture in the tailgate. Now, Footy Mob, we're a little different because, we're gonna have a DJ, we're gonna have a lot of ATL, a lot of music, a lot of swag, a little stanky leg on, whatever it may be. You're gonna see a lot of us partying. You're gonna see some electric slides, some Cupid shuffle.
Oh my god. I want you to know I try to hold my laughter so much when you said stanky leg, and I just
Hey,
automatically imagine college. Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah, man. We have a really good time, and the funny thing about it is that you often see people kind of blending in. You'll see someone coming over from another tailgate to come party with us, and vice versa. So we all kind of party in this one area. It's called the Gulch. We may not be there much longer because of development. We're probably going to be moving. But if you come to a tailgate in Atlanta, man, if you come to Atlanta United tailgate, don't just come to Footy Mob. I mean, of course, you may not want to leave, but come, go to the other ones. Check everybody out, man. It's a lot of energy. By the time everybody's ready to march, smoke is popping off. It's we've had people join not just Footy Mob, but just become Atlanta United fans just from the tailgate experience. And Footy Mob actually in 2017, we have Atlanta Magazine, like each city has their local magazine that has their best of at the end of every year. And so we had the best pregame experience. We won that in 2017 because of that, just because, it's just about that energy and that atmosphere.
Yeah, that I hate the fact that I wasn't able to see a game live, yo. And I probably don't know if I'll be welcomed anymore because my wife is from Charlotte. And she already
Man,
told us,
look,
she was like, we're being
it's
Charlotte
all
FC.
good.
I tried to
It's all
explain to her,
good.
like,
We
she was
we
like,
look,
no,
it's
Charlotte
not
FC.
Europe down here, man. It's not Europe. It's all love. I put it to you like this: when we played Portland for the championship, we had Portland fans at our tailgate, man. We had a big white tent, and I'm telling you, we were swag surfing, man. Everybody was having a good time. Portland fans, everybody, no problem.
So that leads me into this part of your YouTube channel, which is Gold Food. Just real quick, can you just explain to the listeners what is Gold Food and why is it important to the culture?
Go food, man. I try to do it as best I can. So Go Food, the point of it is to link black businesses and the beautiful game. So it started out because my brother and I were leaving an Atlanta United game, and we were leaving the stadium, and we passed Restaurant 10, we passed Pascal's, we passed Atlanta Breakfast Club. So there are a lot of black businesses that people are driving past, either going to the game or leaving the game. And so we were like, man, that's a lot of money just driving right past these businesses who are right here, who could be benefiting from the business that thousands of people are coming to these games every week. And then, if you fast forward, then another thing that happened was some of our friends from Chicago came down for a Chicago Fire game, and they were at the tent. And I asked one of them, I said, "Yeah, so where'd you get breakfast, or where you eating for dinner, whatever?" And he said Waffle House or something. I don't know. He just didn't. I'm like, "You don't know about the Beautiful?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, you need to know about some of these fine institutions around
Grego
here."
put me on to the beautiful. Oh my god,
Look,
that
and,
was the
and I
best chicken
remember
and
when
waffles I've
Grego
ever had in my life.
look, I remember when Grego didn't know what a beautiful was. I said, "How you gonna live in this city and not know what a beautiful?" Bruh, look here.
Grego
So
told me to get the chicken and waffles. I got one order when I was there. I made my wife before we left. I was like, "Stop me by the beautiful so I get the chicken and waffles to go."
and got to get some peach cobbler, man. If you had the beautiful, get you some peach cobbler. So, I mean, it's just all these businesses. And then, and I don't know if you remember this, when Robbie and Troops came to the States, do you remember this? About a year and a half, almost 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
For the Arsenal tour, right?
Right, right.
Okay,
So they
yeah.
were here, and but we weren't necessarily on their stop. So one of our fans, because that's how we are, we actually went and got them, brought them to Atlanta and took them to an Atlanta United game. But they stopped it. They ate at like Waffle House and all that. I said, how come ain't nobody bringing them to like the Atlanta Breakfast Club or Thumbs Up Diner or the Beautiful or I, how you go? See, here's the thing. You're a person of African descent. Even if you're from another country, I don't know about you, but when I was in London, I'm trying to find out where they're eating in Croydon. I'm trying to find out where they're eating in Brixton. I want the good. I want good food. So they meant well. I mean, I'm not faulting the guys who brought them, but they just didn't know to take, robbing them to a nice Jamaican spot over there in Smyrna. They didn't know to take them over to all these places. So my brother and I were like, it'd be nice if we had for like when black folk, either from out of town, out of the country, or just if you just in the city, you've never been to an Atlanta United game. If you had a place, if you knew where to go, if you didn't know anything about the sport, what could we do? So I said, well, one of the things we want to do with Go Food is we wanted to let the businesses know because a lot of the businesses aren't aware necessarily how big the sport is because it's America, so they don't know how big the sport is. And then two, they don't know how many people of African descent are playing this sport outside of the country and within the country. And then the fans don't know, where to eat. So I'm like, let's bring those two together. And one of the things that my brother did for me, when I'm speaking about Go Food, I'm trying to recreate the conversations I had with him because I didn't know a lot about the sport. I didn't know about any of the players. The marketing window, I guess, or so I say marketing wall, is closed to most of us here in the country. So I post a lot of ads and commercials that we never see here. People don't know who Pogba is or Lukaku or Neymar or they don't know who Mbappe is. So and they've never seen these dope commercials where they're doing all this stuff. So Go Food we want to bring the businesses in and say, look, y'all can eat off this. Matter of fact, the World Cup's coming to North America. Y'all can eat off this. Be ready. Then we're saying to the fans, hey, look, while you doing all this, how about you go over to Slim and Huskies and get some pizza? Because you've never had any Slim and Huskies. Trust me, it's amazing. So that's where it's from, man. And so we post videos. Now pre-COVID, we were kind of sitting down and interviewing the owners and getting them involved with the sport and letting them kind of identify players. And but since the pandemic, what we've been doing now, call them drive-bys. So so every week or every other week, we keep, we're masked up, we maintain social distance. We no longer do the in-person interviews, but we will spotlight a different black business in the city, and just trying to get people to kind of give them some business. So sorry to ramble on, but yeah, that's Go Food.
No, man. I see. See, that's amazing, man. Because I think what you're doing is not only highlighting the businesses, because a lot of times in some culture, you know how it goes, is they want to profit off of us, but not give us our recognition or our shine. And what you're doing is you're mixing both in a beautiful way of not only saying like, hey, look, these businesses can use your support, but also like what they're bringing into the community. Like these are stable, businesses in the community that have been here way before Atlanta United, way before any of us. Make sure we give support and love to them, but also like, hey, look, this is the door open for you. So now that way you can kind of bridge that gap between bringing more of the black culture into it, man. And it's beautiful to see.
Thank you, man. So yeah, I wish you had described it before me, because then I wouldn't take you 25 minutes, and you did it in two.
Nah, man. So coming out of this year, we know last year was all COVID. Everything was all crazy in Atlanta. Petey Martinez, Martinez, Frank DeBoer, everyone else going haywire. How is Atlanta United looking this year on the field and off the field? Well, what are you guys what are the supporters groups down in Atlanta talking about doing?
Oh man, we are excited. I'll say this as briefly as possible about last year. I'm an outlier on that too. So I'm a real big fan of positional and possessive play. I'm a big fan of Ajax. I'm a big fan of Barca. I'm a big fan of Manchester City and Pep and Cruyff and Bielsa and of course Tata. So I'm a big fan of that system. I think De Boer I think he had initially when we won the Campeones and we won the U.S. Open Cup, we were on the same page, and I think people have finally grasped the system. Unfortunately, I don't know if he peed on somebody's birthday cake. I don't know if he cussed somebody's mama out. I don't know what happened, but I think it started when he got into it with Pity. The problem is that he wasn't really good with people skills. Once he lost the locker room, that was kind of it. I really think he could have still turned it around because now we have Heinze, and Heinze is also a disciple, so to speak, of Bielsa, who was also a disciple of Cruyff in that possessional play that comes out of the Netherlands and Barcelona and so on. So we are excited because not only is Heinze South American, so that cultural disconnect that some of us saw that's not going to be there this season. He has more say this season than than De Boer had because there were times when they brought in new players and they asked De Boer and he says, I had no say in this player coming or not. Hines is a little different. He is bringing in people who can play in his system, who are comfortable, and I mean it's really looking up. These are all young players, man. Everybody's looking to see Joseph come back and do him. It's do or die now for Barco, so he's trying to prove something, and everybody's just really excited. I mean, me, I'm to the point where I already see us playing in FIFA Club World Cup against Liverpool. I don't care. I'm there. We're winning CONCACAF. We're winning U.S. Open. We're taking it all. That's just how I feel. But man, and then in terms of what we're doing to get ready, I mean, with COVID, there's only so much you can do. Thankfully, with vaccinations, people are now that people are getting vaccinated, we are doing a little bit more and we're trying to follow the CDC guidelines. But I'm telling you, people are just kind of, you can see everybody's hands on the cage. Like everybody's like, okay, as soon as it's good, we're about, it's already crazy in those games. When we're full capacity again, it's going to be loud because people cannot wait to get back in there.
Yeah, it's the same way here in Richmond, man. Like we're already like, oh, we can't wait because our season literally starts in 2 weeks against Reds
Right.
too. So we're already like, yo, what's the tailgate party looking like? What's the watch party looking like? Like, yo, like what's the moves? What's the moves? And you could just tell, you could just tell. Because like last year, y'all guys won't be able to be in stadium, so it's been a whole actually like a full year since the last time you guys have been in y'all home.
Yeah.
Us, we kind of lucked up. We were able to be in our home, but it wasn't as packed as how it normally was. And it was very weird. And I know, like, how is it going to be for you when you're removed, um, going back into your home, and like, what do you think those thoughts in your head are going to be like? You think a tear is going to show or something?
Man, look, I'm gonna try not to cry, but I'll probably cry because I remember that last game last year, and I remember telling people, I said, "We're probably not gonna be in here for a long time." And I looked around then. I looked around like, man, it's not gonna be the same. And I remember looking up at everybody, man, and like, this is. We only had one home game, man, and it was packed. I mean, I don't know if it was the 70. I don't know if we had the 70 or the 45 capacity, but either way, it was Pac-Man, but I'm gonna probably I'll try not to shed a tear, but there's so much. It's not just about the game itself, but a lot of us have lost family members. A lot of us have not been able to see people for over a year. A lot of people, a lot of the single people, they've been dealing with a lot of loneliness and depression. So it's a to be back in there, man, will be an indication or it'll signify a lot of perseverance and blessings and just being grateful to do something like stand in a stadium. I took a lot of that for granted, man. Standing around people, hugging people, cheering. I took a lot of that for granted. I don't now.
Oh yeah, man. I was the same way. Like I remember the last home game that we had pre-COVID. And I was just like, I don't feel like cheering today. I'll let someone else chant. And now I'm just like, yo, I'm ready. Like I'm full. I'm ready to go full cap on, man. But Reggie, man, I just want to say thank you so much for really taking the time out of your schedule to talk to us today, man. Where can everyone connect with you at? And of course, Go Food.
Oh man. So I got a list. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, just me, period. McReg69, MCREG69. Always try to follow Go Food. We try to share as much as we can, whether it's business or it's something you may not know about the sport. So that's Go Food. It's G0ALF00D. So Go Food on Instagram. Twitter, you can follow me at Reg3641. That's REG3641. And of course, the YouTube channel, man. Please check us out. You don't have to pay no money. It's just liking and subscribing. Follow GoFood. We always got that good for you.
Yeah, man, most definitely. Support is always free. You always got to support your
Always.
own.
Always.
As always, listeners, you can expect more episodes than coming out recently. We probably got 2 more episodes left before we take our good old summer break because the season started back up for us. But Reggie, once again, man, I just want to thank you for taking the time of your day for joining us today.
Man,
And
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Of course, I told you we really wanted to highlight what you were doing in the community because it was so special. And as always, listeners, you catch you guys later. Keep you guys on the good side. I'll let you later.